Lost treasures are the driving spark of every Indiana Jones-inspired archaeologist as they dig through the impossible. Like for instance, the treasure of San Miguel. Known as the 1551 shipwreck off the Santo Domingo is believed to be one of the richest treasure galleons ever lost at sea. Holding precious cargo from the Inca and Aztec that were looted by Spanish conquistadors, which tells me the ancestors of the Inca and Aztec conjured the spirits as karma for these European colonizers for what they did. A fleet of 9 ships left Mexico on March 15, 1551, and by April 29, the San Miguel had wrecked off the north coast of the Santo Domingo. With no lives lost, some of the registered treasures appears to have been salvaged by the following months and was sent to Spain. The ship was 200 tonelads and was considered to be the best and excellent vessel as the best of the fleet, and it had been about 23 meters long with a keel of nearly 15 meters. But the fact that the best of the best was lost possesses a lot of questions as to how. Well, many people have searched for the San Miguel, and the search was mentioned in the final chapters of a non-fiction recount book called Pirate Hunters, where John Chatterton and John Matera were the first lead divers who found the pirate ship of the Golden Fleece. Feeling that they were close to the trail of the San Miguel, they continued for a decade of simply searching for the legendary ship, going as far as digging historical records in Spain, and Jack Haskin to locate the specific area of the San Miguel was last seen and where it sunk. Chatterton and Matera had spent the last years narrowing down the lost ship's location, and to this day the search is still ongoing in the treacherous waters of the Dominican Republic. The Holy Grail, in quote, "The Grail legendary is a literary invention of the 12th century with no historical basis," according to Carlos de Ayala. The medieval historian at the Madrid University told AFP news agency that you cannot search for something that does not exist, but according to the Valencia Cathedral houses in Spain, might hold a relic that might have been the holy chalice used by Jesus at the Last Supper. It has been the right size, material, as well as history, yet despite the Grail's fame, no one really entirely knows where it is or if it ever existed. But of course in Spain, they believe that it is a real thing. It has said that the Grail had miraculous powers and could heal any wound as well as grant immortality. These divine attributes therefore made it popular across the world and made the searches even more intense. The Holy Grail is considered one of the greatest treasures in Christianity, and it is said to be the cup that Jesus drank from the Last Supper and also the cup used by Joseph of Arimathea to collect the blood of Jesus. Such a cup is sure to be special, which is why humans have not stopped looking for it since the legend first originated. As for the location, some say the Knights of Templar had it in their possession and hid it somewhere unknown. In fact, there are now several cups claiming to be the original Holy Grail in different locations around the world, which comes from a very convincing story as to how the Grail got there. Including the Valencia Cathedral in Spain, it also said to be located in Santa Maria de Montserrat, Catalonia, Spain, as well as Sinai House Park in Burton-on-Trent, England. Where do you think the Holy Grail is? And personally, I think it's on a shelf on a stockpile waiting to be found on an episode of Storage Wars. Little is known by Sappho's life. She was from a wealthy family from Lesbos, although her family, and parents specifically, names are uncertain. Ancient sources say that she had 3 brothers, Cheracox, Leucos, and Eurygeos. 2 of them, Cheracox and Leucos, are mentioned in the brothers' poem discovered in 2014. I am so sorry if I butchered that, by the way. She was exiled to Sicily around 600 BC and may have been continued to work around 570 BC. According to legend, she took her own life by leaping off a cliff due to her unrequited love for a ferryman named Phaon. Of course, I relate. I also have an unrequited love for a ferryman named Phaon. Sappho is known for her lyric poetry written to be sung while accompanied in music. In ancient times, Sappho was widely regarded as one of the greatest lyric poets and was given names such as 10th Muse and the Poetess. Most of Sappho's poetry is now lost though. What is extant as most survived by fragmentary form only to the Ode of Aphrodite is certainly completed, as well as her lyric poetry, and ancient commentators claim that Sappho wrote elegiac and iambic poetry, as Sappho was a prolific poet, composing probably around 10,000 lines. She was best known in the antiquity for her love of poetry. Other themes in the surviving fragments of her work included family and religion. She probably wrote poetry for both individual and choral performances. Most of her best known and best preserved fragments explore personal emotions and were probably composed for solo performances. Her works are also known for their clarity of language and vivid images and urgency, and the last surviving copies of her poems, transmitted directly from ancient times, are written on parchment codex pages from the 6th and 7th century AD, and were surely reproduced from ancient papyruses, now unfortunately are lost. Do you know anything about breaking down codes? Well, the Beal ciphers are a set of 3 cipher texts, one of which allegedly states the location of a buried treasure of gold, silver, and jewels estimated to be worth over $43 million as of January 2018. Comprising 3 cipher texts, the first unsolved text described the location, the second solved cipher text accounts the content of the treasure, and the third unsolved lists the names of the treasure owners and their next of kin. The story of the 3 cipher texts originated from an 1885 pamphlet called the Beal Papers, detailing treasures being being buried by a man named Thomas J. Beal in a secret location in Bedford County, Virginia, in about 1820. Beal entrusted a box containing the encrypted messages to a local innkeeper named Robert Morris and then disappeared, never to be seen again. According to the story, the innkeeper opened the box 23 years later and decades after giving him the 3 encrypted ciphertexts to a friend before he died. The friend then spent the next 20 years of his life trying to decode the message and was able to only solve one of them, which gave details of the treasure buried and the general location of the treasure. The unnamed friend then published all 3 ciphertexts in a pamphlet which was advertised for sale in the 1880s. But hey, do you think this is actually a real treasure, or was he just having fun? I'm sure you know a little bit about the Fabergé eggs, but did you know that there were about 69 created and only 57 that survived? A Fabergé egg is a jeweled egg created by a jewelry firm House of Fabergé in St. Petersburg, Russia. Virtually all that were manufactured under the supervision of Peter Carl Fabergé between 1885 and 1917. And the most famous of his 52 imperial eggs, 46 of those survived, especially as they were made for the Russian Emperor Alexander III and Nicholas II as Easter egg gifts for their wives and mothers. Fabergé eggs are worth millions of pounds and have become symbols of opulence, as there are many types of eggs Peter's made, like Catherine the Great Egg, are now stored in Hillwood Museum. Peter the Great Egg, as it's found in the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts in the US, and Cat's China Palace Egg is also in the museum in Maryland, US. As for the ones lost, as they still remain a mystery if they are still intact, or unfortunately destroyed, but what do you think? After all, these unique looking eggs hold a lot of value as they were carefully crafted and intended to look fragile, as well as bold in stature and design. But to be honest, my favorite egg is the most impressive egg of all, and that is Egg Boy. The legend of the lost Inca gold begins in the 16th century when the lost Inca Empire in the western South America was given away to European invaders. Atahualpa was an Inca king who, after warring with his half-brother Huáscar for the control of the empire, was captured in his palace by a Cajamarca in modern-day Peru by Spanish commander Francisco Pizarro. They were more shocked when Atahualpa delivered on his promise. Gold and silver began arriving daily, brought by the Inca subjects. Later, the sacking of the cities such as Cusco earned the greedy Spaniards even more gold, and the Inca were fond of the gold and silver as they used it for ornaments and decorations for their temples and palaces, as well as for their own personal jewelry. Many objects were made of solid gold, as Emperor Atahualpa had a portable throne of 15-karat gold that reportedly weighed 183 pounds. The Inca was one of the tribes of the many regions before they began conquering and assimilating their neighbors. Gold and silver have been demanded as tribute for vassal of cultures, as the Inca also practiced basic mining, which is pretty cool. As the Andes Mountains and the rich in minerals, and the Incans accumulated a great deal of gold and silver by the time the Spaniards arrived. Most of it was in the form of jewelry, adornments, decorations, and artificials from various temples. Although there are suspicions that these masses of gold are hidden somewhere on the planet, and that doesn't keep people from looking for these lost treasures, or at least hoping that they're still out there. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Unless you're the Florentine diamond, you may never be found again. The yellow 137-carat Florentine diamond was likely from India, that may have made its way to Europe by the end of the 15th century. How and when it got to Europe is a matter of debate. One story is that Charles the Bold was the Duke of Burgundy from 1467 to 1477, which he had it cut from a larger diamond that was so enamored with the Florentine diamond that he even carried it with him into battle and was supposedly killed with it. After World War I, the last emperor of Austria-Hungary, Charles I, fled with it to Switzerland, and where he put it back into a bank vault and entrusted it to an Austrian lawyer named Bruno Steiner, who was supposed to help with the deposit of the royal's family as selling it with other royal jewels, as wrote of a historian Gordon Brooke Shepherd in the book Uncrowned Emperor: The Life and Times of Otto von Habsburg. It's unclear what happened next though, as a news report published in 1924 indicated that Steiner was arrested and charged with fraud and acquitted. It's possible that the Florentine diamond was recut and now is a series of smaller diamonds. Although we are fully aware of the existence of Cleopatra, but what about her tomb? Ongoing investigations and excavations and explorations of the temple in the ancient ruined city of the Egyptian coast, Kathleen Martinez of the University of Santo Domingo in Dominican Republic and colleagues uncovered a structure of 13 meters below ground. The 2-meter tall tunnel had been waded through an incredible 1,305 meters of sandstone, and it's still unclear whether or not this is Cleopatra's tomb. But they're still researching it, but we'll see. Nimrod is an ancient Assyrian city located in Iraq. Currently, the tombs of some of the great queens have been uncovered in the palace of Nimrod, buried underneath the floor of the harem with a wonderful collection of treasures and gold and other precious metals, also dubbed as the treasures of Nimrod. The treasures of Nimrod unearthed of these excavations collections of 613 pieces of gold jewelry, precious stones, and it survived a confusion and looting after the invasion of Iraq in 2003 in a bank vault where it had been put away for 12 years, and then it was rediscovered on June 5, 2003. The tomb contained 4 magnificent gold bowls, 3 of them inscribed with names of different queens, and there were 2 bodies with 3 inscribed bowls, as one was inscribed with the name of Yaba. The second with the name of Atelia, the wife of Sargon II. They may have been mother and daughter, both of them being queens. The third was inscribed with the name of Manitou, the wife of Shalmaneser V, whose bowl had been inherited by her successors. By command of the great gods of the underworld, mortal destiny caught up with Queen Yaba in death as she traveled with the path of her ancestors. Whoever in time to come, whether a queen who sits on the throne or a lady of the palace who is favored concubine of the king, removes herself from the tomb, or anyone else with her lays hands on her jewelry or evil intent, or breaks open the seal of the tomb, let their spirit wander on the thirst of the open countryside. But I don't know, do you think this curse is real or was she just messing with you? And finally, the story of the Kelly Gang, released in Australia in 1906, is regarded as many of the world's first featured-length film. Running over an hour long, the movie depicted the story of a 19th century outlaw, Ned Kelly, and his gang. The film was such a huge success that film historians Sally Jackson and Graham Shirley wrote in an article on the National Film and Sound Archives of Australian websites. Yet few of the 1906 could have been predicted the impact moving images were going to have on a global culture stage, and no one has ever thought about their preservation either. Despite ranking in thousands of pounds and being celebrated as a landmark of Australian film, by the end of the Second World War, all known prints of the story and the movie had vanished. Despite the film's commercial success, by the mid-1940s it was thought to be lost to history. The first remnants resurfaced in 1976 when Adelaide film collector Vic Reeve found 5 short fragments in a collection he had acquired some years previously, and the longest was only 11 frames long from a 35mm nitrate release print. Friends and colleagues of Ron Prate used a publicity photo from the film to identify the frames, but hey, where do you think the movie is? And do you think Netflix would claim streaming rights if they were able to find it? It depends. After all these items are all part of history, and speaking of history, that's all for today. Be sure to like and subscribe. My name is Jess, and I wish you all the best. Bye.